Hello. In this video, we're going to be looking at the steps to preparing a sermon. As we go through the rest of the class, we're going to be looking at it in more detail, piece by piece. But this video will give you an overview of what we'll be doing in the class.
The process of preaching can be compared to a bridge that spans the ancient and the modern world. The sermon is the bridge between the ancient and the modern world. Now, we're going to be looking at the sermon in three stages. The first stage is to investigate the ancient world, which means that we will be choosing a text, we will be studying that text, and we will be discovering the hermeneutical idea of that text, which we've discussed in the other lecture. The modern world, we're going to be looking at the congregation, studying the congregation, discovering the fallen condition focus, which we'll explain later, creating a homiletical idea, and then outlining our sermon. And then after we do that, we'll be working on the details of the sermon itself, which will mean that we'll be applying the text, illustrating the text, and delivering the text. Step one is discovering the ancient text. How do we study a text? First of all, we read the Bible passage in its context, preferably in several different translations. Second, we ask questions about the Bible passage, and we find the answers. Our goal is to come up with the accurate hermeneutical main idea. In other words, we're going to come up with what the original author intended to say about the passage. Now, the hermeneutical big idea, which we discussed in the other lecture, remember, is a sentence. It tells what the text is talking about and what the text is saying about what it is talking about. Step two is to study the modern world. Now, how do we study the congregation? First, we spend time with them. It's very important that a preacher gets to know the congregation, to know their fears and their frustrations, their likes and their dislikes, the situation in which they find themselves in their lives. Second, know their situation broadly. Study the demographics of your congregation. Know the issues that are going through around in their life. Know what it is they're watching on TV and what they're listening to on the radio and the things that are concerning them there. Get to know what they know. And finally, you're going to focus on what's called a fallen condition focus. That is the place where the fallen condition of man, that is sin, affects their life. And find a part of the passage, the text, that speaks to that fallen condition focus in their life. And then we're going to develop out of that a homiletical idea, which is what we're going to be building our sermon on. And finally, after we've got that homiletical idea, we can outline our sermon. Step three will be preparing and preaching the sermon. How do we prepare to preach? We apply the text, we illustrate the message, and then we deliver the message.
Well, that's how you prepare a sermon. As we look at it in more detail, you'll see how the pieces fit together.